Hi guys, hi everyone. How are you doing? I hope everyone is doing well and healthy. For my part, I have been doing pretty well. I had finally some concerts to play, so I was very lucky. I had the time to practice with a goal finally to have a concert and not just for me. I would like today to show you a recording again, of course, in our series of older recording. A recording by the absolutely fantastic and amazing genius French violinist that everyone once heard about, which is Jacques Thibaud. Jacques Thibaud was a friend of Eugène Ysaÿe. Obviously, you heard Eugène Ysaÿe wrote a very famous Sonata number 2 in his cycle of 6 sonatas, and he had a tribute to Jacques Thibaud. Now, a little funny story about Jacques Thibaud that I learned myself, Jacques Thibaud and Ysaÿe. I learned this story from a woman which works actually in the Royal Library of Belgium. Ysaÿe was inviting his friends and his colleagues, his, I don't know, students, violinists, to come to his place in Belgium. And a lot were coming there to have some great time, to share some thoughts with the great maître. And Jacques Thibaud was one of them. And Jacques Thibaud was practicing a lot, obviously, like all of them did. But Jacques Thibaud had a very special way to practice. So he would practice, I don't know, like maybe Bach a little bit, like everyone back then. So practicing Bach, and then all of a sudden jumping into something totally different, like Brahms Violin Concerto or Tchaikovsky Violin Concerto, and then jumping back to Bach, etc., etc. So it was a lot of different ideas of practicing in one session of practice. And Ysaÿe, who would hear all of this practicing of Monsieur Jacques Thibaud, he wrote a piece actually for Jacques Thibaud representing a little bit the practicing of Jacques Thibaud. So always those little episode here and little episode there and little episode there, and that's why he created this famous second sonata, which is dedicated to Jacques Thibaud with a bit of Bach, and instead of he cuts like Jacques Thibaud would cut in his practice, and he starts his own Ysaÿe style, etc., etc. Like breaking the pattern. Anyways, we're going to listen a recording of Jacques Thibaud today, where he performs a piece which was actually offered, let's say, to Eugène Ysaÿe, which is the famous Franck Sonata. The recording that I would like to show you of Jacques Thibaud is with his unbelievable partner, Alfred Cortot. Jacques Thibaud was born in 1880. Alfred Cortot, I think, was a bit older, maybe 2-3 years. Jacques Thibaud used to fight in the First World War. He was engaged, and he had injuries after the First World War, and that's why he needed some time to basically re-educate himself after the First World War. So if I have to think today about violinists who would go to the army, to the front, and to fight, and then to come back to music, and they would still be stars, I don't know, it would be rather a shocking experience to know that someone really was injured during war. And actually, First World War seems so far away from all the recordings that we hear nowadays, more than 100 years later. Nowadays, when we listen to those guys from those times, we don't really relate anymore to this First World War, which hit basically all of our community of artists. Alfred Cortot, he used to be not only a pianist, he used to be also an amazing conductor. He would actually work as assistant conductor in Bayreuth Music Festival. And Bayreuth is the place you probably heard of for Wagner's music. It was built by Wagner. It's one of the biggest historic monument in classical music about Wagner and opera. And Alfred Cortot was working there. I think you will hear a little bit of his abilities on the piano to not only play the piano as an instrument, but to lead all the music from this harmonic, huge structure which Franck wrote for us, both. I know you know the music. I would like you to just drop a little eye into the score. We will listen to the third movement, Recitativo Fantasia. You will just look at the writings of the composers, because this is going to be our focus point today. The writings of the composer. What does it actually mean to respect what he writes, or what does it mean to add a little bit of your own feelings and interpretation inside of the music? How to read this music, how to understand, and where do the indications of the composer stop having their meaning, and when is the interpretation of the artist, of the player, taking over the indications of the composer. So I hope you enjoy, and we meet straight after. So, I hope you enjoyed this recording as much as I did. I think it's pretty mind blowing how those guys are playing. I've been following the score as well with you, and the little markings that I put are not markings. It's just for you to see a bit more clearly what the composer wrote in the score. The way they play, it's clear that they understood, they took the time to understand the name of the movement. This is something that we sometimes just omit to do because nowadays, very often, we open something and we are already into the notes. Okay, let's learn the notes. Let's see, is it hard to play? Is it not so hard to play? Are there like um, long and virtuoso passages? Okay, no. It's a slow music. Ah, okay, it's fine. Sometimes we forget to, okay, what is the spirit of the piece? The very professional approach would be to immediately start with, okay, that's a slow movement, that's a beautiful slow music. This is where the main difficulty is. Because fast passages, it's just a matter of slow practice, of technical practice, and then in the very end, you're going to manage one way or another. And this movement is called recitativo fantasia. From the very beginning, you know that there is something that is going to be dramatic, that is going to be with singing, with recitativo, because of the way Alfred Cortot introduces the first three bars. The Largamente, very much respected by Jacques Thibaud, and the Fantasie, which is inside of the Largamente. It's not just, I will play with fantasy, as it's written, con fantasia. No, it's a fantasia, it's a fantasy that is breathing within the Largamente, the very large opening that is written. Then he respects just one by one all the indications of the composer. Sometimes there are some moments when both the pianist or the violinist allow themselves to have a little bit of freedom. For example, if you feel that the harmonic outreach is a little bit stronger than just nothing written by the composer, so he just wrote the notes, and you feel that there is a harmony which is extremely beautiful and you think it deserves to be shown, no one is forbidding you to have a special attention to this harmony. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to take all the time in the world, and it doesn't necessarily mean that you have to do a crescendo, but you must be able to express this very particular feeling that you had towards a special harmony. You need to be able, as an artist, as an interpreter, you need to be able to show this to the audience, to show that you actually also enjoy the piece that you played and that you have. That was, this is my dog just having dreams. Yeah, she has to cut me. Sometimes you have to understand that your personal insight of the music that you're playing, it is as well as important as your concrete and perfect realization of what the composer wrote. If you have nothing to add to the music, and if you have nothing to add which is special, that is rather a worrying fact, because that means that you don't really relate to the piece you're playing. Ayla, it's all fine, baby. Ayla, stop. Stop drinking. Ayla, it's okay. For a violinist to add a little bit of glissandis, a bit of portamentos here and there, like in the recording, he does it here. I find it very, very, very warm and very beautiful. So even though it's not written, there is a crescendo, and we're coming to the last word of the recitativo, and he allows himself finally to go in this dolcissimo, because it is dolcissimo. Or for example, when the pianist in the beginning just decides to take a little bit time before the G sharp, so here. Uh, it is not written by the composer that one is allowed to take time, that there is a cesura, there is a rubato or something. But of course, a minor becoming a major always makes sense to have a little emphasis. So would that be terribly wrong to be done? I don't think so. When we have some indications and we think, oh, this one, it's a bit disturbing me within the phrase, it doesn't mean that you should not do it. It means maybe you could find a way to do this indication in such a way that maybe not exaggerated, so that it still fits in your image, in your understanding of the music. So be it, for example, if we take this place, there's a... This time is largamente con fantasia, which is basically the copy of the first one, but this time the poco stretto comes a little earlier than in the first time. It's just like half a bar or something. And the way Jacques Thibaud expresses it, and he does, and you will hear it one more time, is that he takes a bit more time before. So he goes... here... And there is the whole idea of the fantasy, his fantasy. He's taking more time so that he can start the stretto immediately after. And this way he manages to create a little bit of difference with his fantasy of the first time. And this is a key element of our music making. We have to know how to not play a second time the same, but not just because, oh, we play a second time, so let's play something different. It is not different because we need to play something different. It is different because we have to feel a music coming for a second time differently. And this comes from a feeling. This doesn't come just from a dogma or from an idea that, oh, nothing should sound twice the same. I hope you will listen more to this recording now, which is absolutely fascinating. Also, the pianissimos and also this feeling to the time. They take their time. Listen how this music sounds when the people take their time. It is recitativo and fantasia. One of the first indications is largamente. Don't rush. Even in this one. Every note has something to tell. Don't jump from one note to another. Try to understand the correlation between the intervals. Sempre dolcissimo. This is what the composer writes. Sempre dolcissimo. Dolcissimo on every single little note. So, I hope you enjoyed this video and my little insight of great Jacques Thibaud and Alfred Cortot. I wish you all the best and I hope see you soon. Bye.